ask that everybody stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance. Bonnie, you please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
When you're ready, we can call the roll.
Okay, here, Griffin, here, Hubbard, here, Michelle's,
Present.
Swam,
Here.
Sunny Pharaoh,
Here.
Theo,
Here.
Keating, here, Stephen Fuller.
Okay. Over. Item C tonight is approval of the meeting minutes from our city council meeting on May 22nd, 2023. The motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Moved by Griffin, thank you.
Second.
Second by Senator. Thank you. Ms. Griffin, any comments on this? Mr. Senator? No. Other members of the council? Okay, please call the vote to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Swam,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Sunny Pharaoh,
Yes.
Theo.
Yes. Motion carries. We are down to pre-arranged participation. And one of the main reasons we have such a full room tonight is we have a proclamation for the debate team. So can I have all the debate team members come forward, please? Come on, don't be shy, come on here. Very cool. How many are there? Oh.
We have over 20 who participated this year. This is that all the people who participated at any event.
So we prepared this proclamation. And I'm going to read it aloud. Whereas the Dexter debate team, comprised of exceptional students from Dexter High School and Mill Creek Middle School, showcased unparalleled dedication and skill in the field of debate. And whereas the team's commitment to excellence was exemplified by their championship winning performance in all three divisions of the Michigan Interscholastic Forensic Association's Debate State Championship Tournament, surpassing 12 teams in the middle division, 30 teams in the novice division, and 28 teams in the varsity division. Whereas the team's remarkable achievement marks a historic milestone as the first time a team has emerged victorious in all three divisions in the Michigan Interscholastic Forensic Association's debate tournament, underscoring their exceptional abilities and determination. Whereas the team was led by team captain Bonnie Keating and director of debate and forensics Deborah Marsh, and whereas in the varsity division, the undefeated team of Julia Burkowitz and Nisha Rafferty provided seniors Owen Carlson and Griffin Patel the opportunity to advance. And whereas Owen Carlson and Griffin Patel, seizing their chance, demonstrated extraordinary prowess by going undefeated themselves, furthest to many of the team's outstanding accomplishment. Now therefore be it resolved on behalf of the entire Dexter City Council, we congratulate the Dexter debate team on their hard work and dedication, which led them to success in the Michigan Interscholastic Forensics Association Debate State Championship Tournament. This victory is a testament to their unwavering commitment to excellence, and the team has made their community proud. The Dexter debate team is an inspiration to all, and I'm confident they will continue to excel and achieve greatness in the future. Congratulations. I present this proclamation on this 12th day of June 2023. Can everybody stand and please give them a round of applause?
Have you guys came through the windows?
You're welcome to stay for us. Hey, each stage you have to turn it. Well, it's global.
The Michigan Interscholastic Forensics Association.
There you
That's
go.
why we call it MIFON.
What's exactly that?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, thank you for that. Next up, we have Gordon Smith, representing the Dexter Senior Center today. Gordon, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Keto, and it's such an honor to be here tonight to talk to you all about the exciting challenges and the creative solutions that we've undertaken at the Dexter Senior Center. And first, I just wanted to thank Mayor Keto for being one of our biggest supporters. He's helped open a lot of doors for us and introduce new ideas that otherwise we wouldn't have had an opportunity to seize. So, going through this presentation really quick, I just want to preface that some of these numbers now are no longer valid, and I'll definitely let you know what the new numbers are. But for our first quarter, we were extremely productive. At the time, at the end of our first quarter, we had already exceeded our membership by 101%. We refined our data tracking to help us improve our accuracy and forecasting. We've also started looking for funding in new places. We started incorporating more rec style funding into our revenue stream. So we also identified 4 new properties for the senior center. We have a really high focus on them right now that we are going to be doing an announcement on Friday more publicly. And so we're also pursuing new funding to help us with long-term sustainability. One of the great things that we've done is that we've become much better at telling our story. So since I've been the executive director, that was only 160 days ago when I assumed the position. We've been in the various media sources over 20 times in that time, highlighting the change of culture and our priorities and why we're important to the community. We've also incorporated new ways for us to be able to support seniors with the introduction of SilverFit. We're engaging partnerships with other local assets such as the library. We're also making sure that our members are a part of our growth and are a part of our direction with the establishment of the Dexter Senior Center Ambassadors Program. So far, what we've seen is that our municipalities have been very receptive to the rapid growth that we've experienced. And so I just wanted to briefly go over to the next slide and just go over just a small portion of our SWOT analysis. One of the great hurdles, yes.
On that slide. Whoever's, we're a few behind.
Yeah.
There we are.
There we go. So now we're all here. So in our weaknesses, we needed to resolve two big items when I took over. I needed to help us find a permanent home and sustainable funding. And I needed to do this in 2023. Back in September 2022, our board was actually looking at possibly having to close the center for good in March of 2023. It is now June. We're no longer having that conversation. Very proud of that. We also have to consistently think about the availability in 2022 with the school and ask why did it fail, why incorporate people's thoughts and how it could have been done better. We're also rapidly coming to the end of our lease, which is requiring us to move. Another big issue that we've had for a long time, we've only used stopgap measures and we haven't really thought about long-term sustainability like we are now. We also have very low liquidity. We have no liquid capital at this time. So, but we have since changed that. Some of our biggest threats is that we only have a year to make a really big push into a new home and get sustainable funding. And as we all know, none of these are easy lifts for us to do. We also need to continue to develop our revenue streams. As we all know, I'm about 18 months out of being able to have any of that realized. We're also affecting the growth of the Encore Theater. Right now, 42nd Street is taking up over a quarter of our senior center. And so we're, by not allowing Encore to have the level of production that they need for their growth, we're actually inhibiting their growth while we're currently in place. You'll also know that I looked at the rising cost of construction projects and as well as supply chain disruptions. This is really limiting our possibilities of what a new home could be, because with new construction, we're looking at anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years. On the next slide, probably one of my favorite ones. So our total membership is no longer 331, it's 361 as of today. The city of Dexter, in 2022, at the end of 2022, had 55 members, and now we're well over 133. Again, that number is no longer valid. That number has gone up yet again. And we will continue to attract more members, not just from the city of Dexter, but the greater Dexter area. When we look at the surrounding townships, the participation within the Dexter Senior Center is on the rise. So when we look at the next slide, we see that with our member population actually more than doubling, and it's going to continue to grow, the current contributions that we receive from the municipalities is going to be able to help sustain our operations, or and leaves us in a position where we have to really think about how are we going to be able to provide senior services to the greater Dexter area. So I know that when we initially did our ask several months ago, I had only been in 90 days on the job, so I've learned a lot in 160 days. So when we look at this, the ask that I had for ends up being about $338 a member when compared to Webster Township with the 909 average per member. One thing that I want the city council to think about is that under the old knowledge that was proposed and built to the projected cost was about $1,100. So when we look at why do we need this? If everything stayed the same and we've had no changes, we'd actually be out of money before the end of the year. So when we look at what the growth rate is for senior centers, we're looking at year-over-year growth, about 10 to 12% for cost programming, as well as diversification. As our population continues to change, the pace change, so we have to offer new programming. We're now capturing, typically, our membership is about 65 and up. We're now gaining more people under the age of 65 at a rate that is never been present. So one thing that I want us to also consider is what does the senior center need to be sustainable? We're quickly outgrowing our current place. I've actually had to reach out to the United Methodist Church, and we're seeing if we can actually obtain some of the rooms that they have within the church to be able to facilitate our programming, because we don't have any more room. Our classes have grown too much. And so if we only look at 80% of our current growth rate, we're going to continue to grow. If we look at that, we're looking at an estimated membership between 800 to 1,000 members. We'd be right in line with Saline, Northfield Senior Center, as well as Chelsea Senior Center. If we look at the rising costs of commercial real estate, or for what we need, we're looking at about $48,000 to $60,000. Now, we also are going to need an increase of personnel in order to keep this rate of success going. So we need a bookkeeper, a community engagement, fundraising specialist, as well as a social worker, so we can, again, go ahead and expand our services for our seniors. So if we look at that $909 per member cost against the original 133 number, and we're paying per member, that would be $120,897. Now, I know that's a large number, and I know that the city may not even be able to afford that. But what I want to ask is, can we consider going past that 45,000 and really look at a number that is going to be able to help us in probably one of the greatest moves a organization like ours has done with the overwhelming amount of community support that we've had. We've been able to reach out to multiple agencies from not only the local level, the county, state, and federal level. We have literally pursued every option to gain partnerships and to gain the attention that we need in order to be able to make ourselves sustainable and be able to be more than just a senior center. We're going to be a voice for our seniors and be an active agent in our communities. So when we look at, where all these numbers came from, even the, $45,000. The initial budget was shown by Jim Carson back towards the end of 2022. And if we look at all these contributions from the municipalities, then we end up with an operating income of $53,866. Problem being, if we have to get a commercial lease, if this plan that we're currently engaged in fails, we're already out of money. We're back in the same position where we started. Now, we have gone forward, and this is a transformative year, and it's also an opportunity for the city council to work with us. We have to be thinking about what an age-friendly strategy would look like for our community. The aging population is going to continue to grow. If you look at the Spendlock data by 2045 in the greater Dexter area, we're going to have an increase of over 350% of people over the age of 55. So this isn't a problem that's going to go away. We need to create a solution today that is going to be able to support us for the next 20 years, which is something that we haven't been able to consider. So one of the things that we've done is we've had to look at our strategic plan and implement. And so our communication strategy, we've been able to really be more robust in print and radio media. We now have a very active social media presence. We are also doing fireside chats with board, which allows us to reach out to different populations, both within our community and outside. We're also increasing the distribution of our newsletter. We're now up to almost 700 copies of our newsletter that are being read per month. In our operations strategy, we have actually stopped thinking about 400 members for our end of year goal. It is now 500, and we are well on pace to meet that number. We're also, we've tightened up our schedules to make sure that we're increasing our facility utilization. And we're also looking at what our operational plan will be like for 2024 by the end of third quarter and ready for it to implement. The financial strategy, I'm very proud of it. We're looking at private capital raising. We've been doing that through family foundations and high net worth individuals within our community. We've also pursued federal and state appropriations, something that a senior center typically has not done and has not been successful at. We have pursued over $8 million in between federal and state appropriations. When I discussed this with many of the people that were involved, they told me, Gordon, please manage your expectations. This is going to work. You have to consider another option. Well, we have a very due to the support of Congresswoman Debbie Dingell that our project has been included in her $50 million package for projects that she wants to pursue through Congress. We also have our $3 million that's coming from the state legislature and being championed by Representative Brian Gibbs, Conlon, and Senator Sue Shane. So when we've done all of these things, like I said, in 2024, what we have to pursue is a sustainable plan for the next 20 years. And the contribution that we're going to receive right now, yes, it is going to help us out considerably. It's going to help us get the staffing that we need. It's going to help us be able to maintain the new facility that we're going into and allow us to continue to have that growth. But it's also going to offer a new opportunity for us to introduce new policy ideas, such as an age-friendly community strategy. We can also look at pursuing other options through legislation due to our advanced relationships that we have now with local, state, and federal elected officials. We now have people that want to represent our cause and see the value of what we do. So I'm gonna leave this out on our Meals on Wheels strategy. We were looking at increasing our participation rate by 35%. That would allow us to serve over 12,500 meals. My personal goal is to have us over 13,000. We're actually going to be on pace, hopefully, to hit 14,000. So with our rapid rate of growth, we need to be able to sustain it. And it's not about making sure that we make payroll as much as it is providing comprehensive services that we need for seniors. Some of the things that we're looking at is incorporating social work, as we saw earlier. We're looking at community engagement, doing fundraising. We need to continue to grow our base of support and start bringing together resources from all across our community and across the state in order for us to be successful. I am asking for you all to please not just look at the number, but look at the impact. In finance, you typically look at return on investment. What I'm asking you to look at today is return on impact. How many lives do we affect? And this is a service that it may not be applicable to you today. Give it 20 years. And you will be very happy with your investment when you have those services that are at the ready to be able to not only support you, but members of your family and other members. At this time, I open up for any questions.
No questions for Gordon?
I have a question. What's actually the first? Okay, so I'm looking at this slide of the membership,
Yes, ma'am.
and I mean, I was only here since 2020 on campus, but I don't know the history. I'm just looking at Scioto Township and saying the average cost per member is reading 0.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering how that's fair, seeing that they have a much larger tax base than us, and I know it's gonna be, slated to be located in our municipality, but that doesn't mean that Scioto doesn't touch us at the A&W isn't Scioto. We have many single family homes that are less than a mile from downtown that are in Scioto Township. So have you thought at all about approaching them or trying to make that more equitable with them?
Yes.
And like with relation to how much they've paid in the past, sort of making up for what they haven't paid in the past?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Councilwoman Hubbard, thank you so much for that question. I appreciate it. And the reason why I appreciate it is because I just did a presentation with them last week asking them for $77,000 based on the same methodology that I've presented to you this evening. They haven't given us any money since 2007.
Right.
So the fact that we've been able to provide these services for over the last 50 years on a shoestring budget, now is our time for us to create that sustainable future that our seniors need. And so with the actions of Scioto Township, once I get done talking with all the trustees there, and I have a high confidence that we're going to be approved. Webster Township met our challenge and went from a $10,000 a year contribution to $40,000. And they've almost tripled the amount of members that are coming out of Webster, and that's only going to continue to grow. It's our culture. It is our support that we have for our seniors and our unwavering commitment to serve them. Thank you very much for that.
Well, that's a question I was gonna ask. Gonna keep going. Dexter Township, why is the ask for 9,000 for them?
Absolutely. So the ask for them was 9,000, just because at the time the Webster Township hadn't quite approved the increase of their ask. And so I've also had a conversation with the township supervisor. We're already going to start re-looking at what their commitment or what their financial commitment is going to be to the senior center. It's going to be more consistent.
Okay. What's the membership cost?
So the membership cost and then what we're like.
If I want to be a member, is there a fee?
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely.
What is that?
It's $20 annual due.
All right, has that increased?
No, that has not increased, and thank you so much for bringing up that point. One thing that we have to consider is that the money that we have today isn't going to be worth as much in the future. So when I retired with my very wonderful pension from Ford Motor Company back in 2008, and I now look at its value over time, especially with the increase in inflation, I have less purchasing power. So why am I going to be able to provide services and also not impede our seniors? So one solution that we thought of is participating in the Silver Flex program, similar to Silver Exchange. It's through Medicare Advantage plans. It allows us to actually be able to get a monthly membership of about $33 if we're able to get all the keys that in a workout, which would actually be able to give us a sustainable revenue without having an out-of-pocket cost for our seniors. Now, for our seniors that can't afford $33, what are we going to do for them? With our contributions, as we're going to see from our municipalities, we can offer them a scholarship, thereby being able to provide them still access to the services, still, but at a much lower rate than the municipality because we have another way of thinking. So thank you very much for that question.
One last one, what's the cost for the meals?
Oh. So again, when we look at the cost for meals, it is on a cost share basis. So the typical cost for a suggested cost for the meal is $3 if they can pay. If we're talking about access to food. So and the food's not that great. I'll be the first one to say. I would really like to look at another vendor, but we can't afford it. For us to go outside of what the county already offers is going to cost us a considerable amount. So when we look at the cost share and what our seniors are able to pay, yeah, some are able to pay, but many of them aren't. We provide services in Saddle Farms. And many of them are on a very restricted budget and may not even have access to eat every day if they didn't have the meals that they have. But it's also not just a meal, but it's also social interaction. So I can go on and on about this, but we'll save that for a different day.
Okay, thank you.
Unless anyone else has questions before I ask another question. Okay, so, you know, I'm happy to see that you're diversifying in your financial strategy and looking at private capital fundraising, but in this moment, I should say, and in this moment, when you're looking at having to get a new building or facility, have you, or are you considering some sort of capital campaign that you would push out to the community?
Absolutely. You have all the great questions. Thank you. So a big part of our strategy is that our primary property does work out. There's one little problem. We need an additional $3 million to cover the cost of maintenance over the next 3 years. And then after that, in year 5, that cost is going to continue to rise and we're going to need money for that. And then we'll also have the extra stress and wear and tear on the building because people are going to want to do their work because of our outstanding program. And so with all of these things considered, yes, we are going to need a capital campaign. We are going to need our family foundations to be joining us in matching effort. And so we're already starting to have those conversations. We're already getting things and folks, 160 days. What a world. I love this community. The things we've been able to accomplish in such a small window of time because so many people banded together and said,
Gordon, remind me when, those appropriation requests get some sort of answer or.
when we're supposed to receive answers on them?
Yeah.
So with the federal is a little difficult. We should be receiving our answer about September. And I say about just because with everything that they've got going on with the debt ceiling, it could move that to the left or to the right. So we're having to be flexible with that, and that's also where our family foundations come in, as well as looking at impact investment. What can we do for our project in lieu of if one or both of those methods of appropriation don't come to fruition?
And another question, how much additional programming space do you need?
So our typical space that we would need, our Quinn Evans drawings had a 12,000 square foot facility. And Mayor Keel, I've got to be honest with you, we're going to outgrow that at our current rate of growth. If we maintain and get up to 1,000, then we're going to need at least a 20,000 square foot facility. Just to continue to keep pace with the rate of growth. The only reason why I believe that we're going to continue to attract the members at the rate that we currently are, one is because of our culture, and two is because we're actually offering things that people want. So while we're doing that, we're also going to be able to get bigger partners involved and really change our financial outlook going forward.
Thank you. Jamie?
Yep, so I may have missed this. This funding that you're requesting of us and these other municipalities is just meant to get you to the next year, and then there's a different plan moving forward, or is there anticipated to be a repeat ask for something like this of this nature of the municipality?
You, again, a great question. So when we're looking at sustainability, it's not going to be a silver bullet for us to keep coming back to the municipalities year over year, asking for a considerable amount of money year after year. We have to create a strategy that is going to allow not just our senior center, but other senior centers that are in this, but this is a statewide issue. How are we going to be able to provide sustainable funding and ensure that that funding directly goes to the seniors? That was one of the issues with the bill millage of 2022. We did not have enough clarity on it. And so we are I'm currently pursuing a couple of different ideas with some of our elected officials, Senators Stu King. And what that would be is pursuing a state law that would actually provide funding. We got to work out a lot of details, and even then, now we're talking about getting into legislation. But I am confident that we're going to be able to push it through, just because we do have a level of clarity and so many organizations that are stepping in with us, that as we get through 2024, we're going to be in a much different place financially, just because of the amount of programming that we have, the things that we're going to be able to interact with, and the type of donors that we're going to be able to attract. And so now, instead of the weight falling all on the municipalities, we can start looking at what would our relationship look like with corporate aid from, I don't know, Trinity Health, UMich, the Michigan Health Endowment Fund. How do we attract them? They have their ideal recipients, and there are ideal donors, but we have to get to that level. And we have to look the part, we have to be able to provide the comprehensive services that they need to say, yes, you meet our criteria for receiving, their larger donations.
Okay. Thank you. So, I mean, because it was presented to us in the packet this way, I'm looking at page 27. It says we received this request for 45,000. The line prior shows us that we're budgeting $30,000 for arts, culture, and heritage for the Dexter Bicentennial celebration. So it kind of helped me put that number into context a little bit in terms of like what our internal budgeting is. So I agree with the sentiment that I would rather the municipal contributions be proportionate to the representation of membership from that municipality. And I understand that municipalities are not quite there. So I would, I'd rather be working in that direction, or as you said, other sustainable methods of funding this. We're not taking a vote on it at this time, but I'm inclined to support this if this is, the stopgap measure or some other measure that's going to help you get to that next step. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Councilman Griffin. Stopgap measures are what got us into this. We need to look at sustainability, and we need to, and again, we're looking at adopting a impact investment strategy. Because you may not use your fire department every day, you may not use the police department, you may not use the library, but we are a critical service. And our motto is, we are where seniors thrive. Just because you're over the age of 55 doesn't mean you stop producing value and then you don't want things in life. We need to have a vehicle that helps people regain their purpose after major life changes. Imagine, if you will, they were married to the same person for over 40 years and now they're no longer with you. What do you do? I've heard that story numerous times, but these same people are able to reestablish their purpose, their focus in life, and still have a very enriched life because of the services that they receive. And we're not talking about people that are on walkers and canes. We're talking about people that want thrive vinyasa, very aggressive yoga. We have a lot of wonderful, able-minded seniors that want to continue living a full life, and we should provide that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Gordon, thank you for coming this evening. Very informative.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, that concludes our prearranged participation. So we're down to non-arranged participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak tonight under non-arranged? Seeing none physically present, Josh, anybody with their hand up online that would say they want to speak? Hand online. Okay, no non-arranged participation this evening. We're down to item F, which is declaration of conflicts of interest for the potential agenda. Do we have any Yeah,
I'd like to accuse myself from a closed session about the proposed negotiations for the union contract.
okay. Wait, we don't know that? Everybody else know that? Anyone else? Okay. We're down to item G, which is approval of the agenda. The motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second by Simon. Take the roll. Any discussion? With that,
There's one item from the consent agenda, I'd like to have a couple questions on, K5 summer concert series.
okay,
Just a couple quick questions.
okay, we will have K5 go to M3 if that's okay. Okay, this call vote to approve the agenda with the one change.
Black,
Yes.
Hubbard, no, Griffin,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes,
Alday,
Yeah.
Sunny Fair,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Motion carries. We are down to the public hearing section of our agenda. We have two public hearings this evening. The first is public hearing on the 2023-2024 village rate and administration fee for the upcoming fiscal year. It would start July 1. And we typically will open the public hearing, see if there's any public comment. Take the public comment, close the public hearing, and then council usually considers that item right after the public hearing. So we'll start with, by opening the public hearing at 7:37. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak tonight regarding the proposed 2023-2024 village rate and administration fee? That happens every year, so we're always crowded. Okay, well, as proposed right now, the millage rate is supposed to stay the same. Get down to that, for the purpose of, recording this, since we're recording it. The general fund is proposed to stay at 10.8987. The streets is proposed at 4.4075. Those are, I think that was what they were last year. And then we add the additional public safety debt repayment at 1.756 mils for a total of 17.0622. I think on the resolution, the resolution has the 2022, 2023, right about that. I think that should be 2023, 2024 on that line. I didn't want to forget to say that. Okay, I filled the minute and we'll have a public comment. So Justin, did I leave anything out? What do you like to say as part of this?
No, I mean, I don't think there's anything in here that we haven't seen before or talked about before. I mean, the new thing is the public safety debt repayment, and we all knew that was coming, so.
And we do have room under our cap. In general fund, just as a matter of course. $500,000 is about the ask that the senior center has made. So everybody's aware from that perspective. Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing with no public comments. We close it at 7:39. Is there a motion? There's a resolution in the packet on page, section 31, I believe. Is there a motion?
I'll move the millage rates for 23-24.
Moved by Senator,
I second.
second by Alday. Thank you both. Any comments? Oh, Zach.
just want to clarify, the motion was for millage rates. Is it the intent that it also includes the administration fee?
Yes, the motion in the back.
Move the resolution. It's on 31 and 32, which includes a
Right, with the change,
1% administrative fee.
with the change of 23-24.
Thank you. Zach,
Just want to confirm that the public notice included the correct millage rate, not the one that was in the packet.
Yeah,
correct?
and I noted that in the supplement.
Yeah, I was,
That was
for the
my-
folks who don't get this.
Yeah, I was in a bit of a hurry to get the packet out, so I copied a lot from the previous packet, which included that error, but what got sent over to the Sun Times did include the correct amounts.
okay, great. Marie,
Yes, I just wanted to mention on the administrative fee, we do the calculations to make sure that we're not charging too much. Because the administrative fee can only be used to cover tax assessing activities. So, I want to make that point.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. Seeing no further comment, Frederick, please call the vote to approve the resolution setting the 2023-2024 millage rate and administration fee with the one correction.
Sunny Pharaoh,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yeah.
Alden,
Yeah.
Hubbard,
Yeah.
Michelle,
No.
Black,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, the second public hearing this evening is to consider or to discuss the adoption of the 2023-2024 water sewer and rubbish ordinance, which is required by the charter. So I will open the public hearing at 7:42 and ask if there is anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the proposed water sewer and rubbish ordinance. Okay, seeing none present in person, is there anyone online that has their hand raised that wants to make a public comment about the water sewer rates and or the rubbish ordinance? Gosh, I'm assuming no. Thank you. Yeah, help my eyes over there. So similarly, I'll say that the ready to serve monthly fee is proposed at $11.65 per 1,000 gallons for sewer, $14.34. On the water side, the ready to serve monthly fee at $9.85. The first meter, 1,000 gallon per 1,000 gallons is $4.44. The second meter per 1,000 gallons is $6. The rubbish rate, excuse me. The rates I just read for sewer have an increase of 7%. The increase in water reflects a 5% increase. The rubbish rates have moved up to $28.50 from 26, I believe it was.
I think it's 2615.
From 26.50, so it's been up $2. Okay. What am I forgetting to comment on, Justin?
Yeah,
Okay. Is this public comment or personal?
Oh, this question, sorry.
No problem, no problem at all. Okay, so seeing no public comment, that's the proposed consideration item. And I'm gonna close the public hearing at 7:43. And ask if there's a council member that would like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance that is shown on page 77 and 78.
I will make a motion to adopt the ordinance on page 77 and 78.
You looking at some Farrell, is there a second? Second by Glenn. Yeah. Okay, council questions, Zach, question if you have one.
My question is related to second meters for outdoor watering. Is that the $6 per 1,000?
it is.
Okay, so they're actually paying more for water, for just watering.
That's correct.
So is it? My understanding is we're supposed to charge the equivalent cost to what the cost is to provide water. Does that mean we're undercharging other folks for their first meter? Or are we overcharging folks for the second?
So I believe that, we are permitted to charge different rates for primary and secondary meters, based on the, rate study that, Baker Tilly just did. But I think the idea is that during high usage, one of the big reasons that we come close to our cap is because of those water meter one. And it's one way to kind of put a throttle and make sure that we aren't hitting our cap, making sure that folks are, you know, being given priority for those who are using it for internal use.
Okay, my next question is then, is the second meter $350 under section 4?
Yes.
I believe it's the same.
All right, and I believe we also have different rates for larger meters for commercial projects, 2 and 3 inch.
So for those, I believe it's,
It's all already surcharge. It doesn't matter size of the meter, as of now. I know we looked, go about differently, because I know other communities do, so. I don't know where Michelle's at, that I haven't talked to her, so. But as of right now, it's rate surcharge, you know, it's. Correct me if I'm wrong, man.
I guess my question is, ought that to be implemented in the ordinance establishing fees for water and sewer?
yeah, I mean, we can look at it for, I mean, it would be tough to give you numbers right now, but. Something that we can look at for next year. Is that clear with your question?
This is an ordinance to set costs for water and sewer, and it's a cost related to water and sewer. My question is whether or not that has to be documented in the ordinance establishing rates.
No,
I mean, if we were gonna charge a different. No, I get your point. So water only meter 1 inch. So if there's a different size meter.
There's nothing in here that says how we set it.
It could certainly be amended if there was a different charge. There's nothing that says it can't amend it. You don't want to do that.
I'm done with questions, thanks.
Good questions, appreciate that. Does anyone else have questions on the proposed ordinance? Which we said, and so. Okay, Greg, please call the vote to approve the adoption.
Hubbard. Yes. Sunny Pharaoh,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yeah.
Michelle,
No,
Alden. Yes. Black,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Those are two important public hearings to have, and motion to carry here in June, leading into our next fiscal year. We're down to communications that are in the packet, which is just our meeting calendar for the next couple of weeks. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the meeting calendar? Joe?
on the 21st is the next, public safety facilities.
And when is the meeting set to meet with SIA, at least tentatively?
July 14th.
Yeah, we're going to meet with SIA on the July 15th, so if they can have that on the radar. If you ask a question. Okay, any other comments on the calendar? Then keep this moving. Our first report tonight is from our public services superintendent. All right, Tim.
Good, how are you guys?
Good.
So you threw reports over to, I've been going this last week, so I'm just kind of catching up today about these things, but, any questions on taking now?
Go ahead, Juan.
This is just a thought. So today I was trying to turn left off of Dover onto Fifth. And the tree trimming company was there. And they were way out in the road, which I understand might be necessary for their operations, but there were no sort of cones or anything. So I had to really creep out to see what was coming from the other side. And people were swerving around me because I was so far out in the intersection. So they might want to think about putting some cones out if they're in a situation like that.
Absolutely. They should have proper signage.
Yeah, there was nothing, just the truck sticking out the road.
David?
So I saw that the new like pedestrian signs are out at Main and Alpine. I was hoping they were going to be in the street. Right now they're at the sidewalk, so like if they're in the street, I don't know if there's a reason that it's harder to do that at that location. Or if we can switch them in.
I can, I'll talk to Kurt about it tomorrow, because when I told him, talked to him about, what you said and everything, and then next thing, they were out. Okay, so I will definitely talk to them.
Okay, so yeah, it's nice to see it there. I just think they're more effective when they're like,
So I think we've done them in the road before, and I think at that location, they get hit pretty frequently. From folks pulling in and out of, the gas station. Like, when during times of high traffic, folks wanna take the middle lane. And taking out the signs.
okay, well, I can leave that to your discretion. I just didn't know if there was a reason for that.
I will say that I didn't know those signs were there, but I also don't drive there that often. But I did see more people stopping the other day than I'd ever seen before, so maybe they are doing something.
Somebody requested, I don't know how, the Sally, is that the name of the speedometer device we have? That's something that residents can request to be in a location.
Yeah,
So I know there are some folks who are interested in being on Main, well, I guess it's Ann Arbor Street, probably like just before Dover. As you're coming into town, probably.
We're talking about down by your point.
No, like near Dover, and is it Ann Arbor Street there? Yeah, it's Dover and Ann Arbor Street. And in the past, I know we talked about data being collected, like that device collects data. Is it possible to that when it gets moved to that location to have it set up to collect speed data?
yeah, I believe we collect it for each location that it is at.
And then is that stored somewhere indefinitely?
We downloaded,
Yeah, so basically the signs will collect them on year basis, so like every, as soon as it goes to the next January, it erases the old ones, but usually I go out every few months and I'll pull data off of it. And I have a map where I track where they're going. One of the signs right now we just moved, and I think the other one got hit by a car again, and so we're looking for another solar panel to fix it. And so once we get the second one back up.
Yeah.
Then they'll put it back out.
Certain residents in that stretch are just concerned about speeds and enforcement, and they were hoping that, or thinking maybe one of the initial steps is just gathering some data to better inform.
they're actually about to have a really, really good, impact to traffic. Because we're gonna be closing that sidewalk across Ann Arbor,
Okay,
and so folks won't be able to speed through there because they won't be able to go through it all.
okay.
That's definitely speed on the fifth.
Then something else I noticed after we talked about 30-minute parking in front of the post office. And then I noticed that I noticed this a long time ago and forgot, but as you're coming in on Baker, there's a sign that says the city has a 2-hour parking, 7 AM to 7 PM in the downtown business district.
Correct.
So that's right there in the sign. But then it was pointed out to me that a little further down, there's something that says a different time, maybe still 2 hours, but it's a different time. Let me see if I can find that. Anyways, I don't know if it was worth at some point having a review of where do we have signs that talk about what our parking restrictions are and what are they and are they consistent? I don't know who that falls to.
So, we're doing a project on Baker next year, and OHM is collecting information on all of the signage kind of in that stretch of Baker.
Okay.
We can have them go out a little bit further. But one of their tasks is to make sure that all the signage, jives.
Okay. I don't know that I've seen parking, like a parking sign generic like that anywhere else in town. Maybe they, I guess, try to keep your eye out for it. Let's see if I have anything else. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Tim, I just have one question. I had a resident ask when we would do our dust treatment, given we haven't had rain until Sunday. I know the Sunday, the rain helped a lot, it does temporarily, but remind me again, do we do that twice a year on the alleys? Or once, or,
I think it's once a year.
Okay, I know we talked to, Kurt about it the other day, because another resident had about the parking lots, or maybe the city parking lots, he invested, so. I think he talked to the gentleman, said they're trying to, I think he said the beginning of this week sometime. But I can check that out there tomorrow, make sure.
Yeah,
I know it's always
it's on Kurt's
list, okay.
list, yeah.
And remind me how much we paid for that, and when you get it, if you didn't, it's in the budget, I'm sure, but I didn't know.
It's under 5,000, I want to say.
Okay. Okay. Well, we hit those long, dark spells. That was one of my questions. Thank you. Yeah, I was representing Dan. Could you tell us about the training for our employees to get for confined space? Is it awareness or are they getting certified or?
So we had 3 people last year that they get certified, with confined space. We have the safety management, as you're well aware of, program that the city staff had asked about, putting some short courses on there, about 30 minutes. They're not certifications by any means, but it's giving safety awareness of what's going on in there. And it's, confined space, we have one this week called active shooter, forklift training. We got a few different ones on there too, PPE. But yeah, those are small, smaller courses, because to do a certification, that's obviously a lot more money, right? So,
This is just awareness and they're not gonna be doing confined space.
right. And what it is usually a 20 to 30 minute, the little video that they put on through the company that we have. And then what happens is I got 10 question quiz at the end, and I go over, it's very general, but at least people know what's going on.
Thank you.
But we folks did get certified last year, so they could do confined space
Yeah, we have 3 people.
if we had to.
We have all the equipment.
We're going to be purchasing that, yes. That's part of next year's budget.
Looks like no other questions, at least for now.
Well, I will say they, following for the state is doing really well. We're up to around 60 bottles that we identify the curb stops, what's on either side. One good thing is AT&T got another good partner, so hopefully that's that over. So, but that's it.
Tim, how many of those residents do we have to do here? Or kind of here, or something?
We're, as of right now, I think it's around 92, and we'll fill our obligation as far as a certain percentage, I think it's 20%. We did get the grant, so I would like to go further with that, just to pad it up, so to speak.
Yeah.
And utilize the grant as much as we can.
So the strategy that we've talked about is doing potholing on different streets and throughout the area that is potentially impacted. Because I believe the state has said if you go through your 20% and don't find any, then you don't have to do the rest. But in this method, if we start going through and we find something, we have money available to do that street.
Thank you.
It's just been a while since I've had a ridiculous question. I'm just wondering, was the chipper video entertaining or was it boring?
They don't get it's 4 hours long, but no, it's important piece of equipment. It's a very dangerous.
No,
piece of
so
equipment.
it's about safety.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Okay, so it's not necessarily what it's,
Makes him, read, I think there's a book that he has to read, and then they go over a 4-hour video.
wow.
It's not as interesting as the chainsaw video.
Yeah. Hey, at least they're getting one. I never had one. They just said no.
There you go.
Good, that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
All that awareness for safety.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
Yep, thank you for your time.
Yep, thanks.
We have a written community development manager report. Okay.
Yep, Michelle's out tonight, so Grace is here and might be able to answer some questions, but
Good experience, great.
I can try.
Is anybody got anything for Grace or for? community development?
well. And Michelle is on Zoom.
Hello.
Nobody has their hand up, so. Oh, Jamie, there you
Anything
go.
you're throwing out?
There you go, throw it out there.
There's some long grass at, what's the childcare further down on,
Baker?
Dexter and Everett?
Yeah, they cut it, today when I came in, they got a notice, and today was the day they had to cut it by, so.
Any other questions? on the report? If not, very good. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, we'll go over to page 3 of the agenda. Well, there's something under the board of commissioner reports that needs to be noted. We're down to the city manager report.
Sure, so I'm But this last week was the first week of me kind of getting back into the swing of things after being off for 3 weeks. On maternity leave. So things are going good at home so, you know. Don't need to worry about baby.
We don't.
But included some information in here from just right before I left. We went to the bond sale. Those results came back good. And as you saw in the millage rate, the necessary amount to pay back the bond is lower than the 2 mills that we had predicted it was going to be. So that's good news. We had the pre-bid site walkthrough last week, which went well. There were quite a few prospective vendors that showed up. I think we'll likely get quite a few back, which is good news. Josh went out and went to the high school to do a voter registration event, which sounded like it went well.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you've done that?
No, I don't think we did one last year. I don't think we posted one, but we've done it 3 or 4 times.
Great, I like that.
It all kind of depends on, the set of seniors that they have, coordinating the event. So, we've had some really good years and, especially like during COVID, and we didn't get out at all, so. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you planning on, including the public safety facility user group meeting update in this part of your report, or should we expect it somewhere else on the agenda?
So I did include, some information, from the public safety facilities.
And your
as
plan
a path.
is to keep doing that as part of your report?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. And then this, I guess, is more related to our agenda, but subcommittee, if the Sloan Kingsley, are they technically a subcommittee?
Yeah.
Would we, I mean, I don't know that we need to, do we need to officially add them to our agenda under 4?
We can make sure we at least put them on there when they're,
When they are there?
yeah, it probably needs to be added to. Doesn't hurt to do.
And then Justin, you may miss it, and I can follow up via email. I had asked just for the detailed, it sounds like the Washington County Sheriff's Office gives several pieces of information to you whenever they submit their reports, one of which is the very general line, something that we've seen in our packet, and one is a more detailed line item. So I was just curious to get my hands on the line items from the past, so I can follow up with you via email.
Yeah, I get that, yeah, I'm still working my way through.
Actually, yeah.
For me, being gone.
I guess I'd ask, sorry, because I'd asked a number of questions in the supplement. Regarding the public hearing notices, I mean, I'm inclined to keep them on the website. And I understand like there's been hiccups in like staff availability and things like that. I guess I would rather see them on the web. I'm curious to sort of group it. I like them on the website. I don't know how many people use the website to get that information versus the newspaper or somewhere else. My only thought is that given they are on the website, it kind of sets the expectation that, hey, if there's something happening, it's going to be listed here on the website. And so I guess we need to figure out, do the resources to consistently do that? Is it important enough that if everybody at council would like to continue to see them on the website, that we find some other way to get additional resources to make that happen? So I'm curious to what you're saying. I would like to see them on the website. But I also understand the resource constraint.
And I tried to go on today and see if there were Google Analytics for the site to see if there was usage. And I wasn't able to
Make that happen.
make that happen today.
And then I guess I just did want to draw, if nobody else has comment, I did want to draw attention to the fact that I asked some clarifying questions on the 2 road closure applications because wasn't clear timing for some of them and some additional details. So if anybody else is wondering about that, their responses in the supplement. Also, I think it could be worth, updating the permit, just the application itself to include the AM PM, so that's not necessarily how easy it is to do that. I guess you can decide. Yep, and that's all, thank you.
So, Justin, I think this is the first time we've seen the new mobile food service unit safety inspection form and subsequent registration form in the packet, right? It wasn't in the meeting, I must, was it? Correct. Okay. You know, I understand the need for safety of these things, but I'm wondering how consistent our form and process is with anyone else that does it around the area. And whether we've, I haven't had a chance to go over that with DAF, but I plan to on Thursday at our meeting. You know, I want to make sure we're providing safe vendors, whether the vendors are safe and the beer is safe. But I want to make sure that we're also not going above and beyond what other areas are required necessarily. And I don't have a good basis for that right now. We've gone from no form and approving all sorts of food trucks at many events for years to a form that is quite extensive, and it didn't even come up as a result of our Dexter days or public events where we have hundreds of people. It came up because of a question related to a food truck in a neighborhood. And anyway, I just want to make sure that it's appropriate and not excessive. So I haven't had a chance to ask those questions, but I want to let it right now. That's fine. Questions,
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, because that was something that I thought when I looked at that form, and also how much of that, those questions are covered by the permits that the food truck generally have to have. A lot of those seem to be things that generally the permits should cover. And the other thing is that the people, if food trucks have permits from another county, another city, can that be used for?
They are allowed.
Their,
I know they're allowed. I just don't know how many people are doing that. I've heard Livingston County is doing it, but I don't know what they have to go through to get certified there. I haven't had a chance to pull that.
so more information would be good.
Zach?
So I just wanted to clarify that this is Dexter Area Fire Authority permit process, not the city. They're doing this under their authority with the fire code.
Correct.
So they can, whatever we want to do, the DAFD is going to do.
Yeah, so for, as part of our process, we require sign off by the sheriff's office and DAFD. And I believe as part of the DAFD signing our permit, they're requiring folks with food trucks to go through that process.
Did they give an indication why they're calling it mobile food service unit instead of mobile food vending unit?
That's the terminology they developed.
Okay,
We don't even allow it in our ordinance, right, Zach?
we don't regulate it, only cars.
Right.
So I asked because the term of art that the state uses, I've written 4 or 5 vending unit ordinances now, is mobile food vending unit, not food service unit. So if I would maybe let them know to double check and make sure they're using the same term. And there is, I can confirm there is reciprocity generally between counties and jurisdictions if you got it, because they all run through the same thing.
I know the chief said that most of the vendors at Dexter Days are in the process of getting certified or trying to, so which is good. And the more they get certified, it makes it easier for everyone else that wants to, use the same food truck later. So I know it's a little bit of a aggravation, and I'm certainly not discouraging it, but just wondering how close it was to this process. That was all the question I had in your report. Any other questions for Justin?
I have just one other comment about the food truck stuff. One thing, I kind of think it's like a solution that's looking for a problem that we don't have. Like you said, we've had food trucks for a long time. There's lunch trucks that go out to industrial sites all the time. And I think I've seen a lot that Tana's had them, I mean, for that matter, the fire department sets up and has W4 out. And I don't want it to be arduous. I don't want it to be difficult. I don't ever want somebody to say, I'm not coming to Dexter because it's too difficult to go through the process. Hopefully that's not the case. And I'm frankly surprised that they're using a state certification or a county certification in Washington. I'm surprised that doesn't exist already. And the other thing that we have to remember is that this entire discussion started from a neighborhood dispute. It started from one neighbor that didn't like having the fire trucks in the neighborhood, raising it up and saying, I don't like this, and going through every single argument they could think of until they hit on, is it safe? And based on that, we have this. So I understand the safety part of it. It sounds like, I think the thing that's been important to me in the conversations I had with Mayor Keough is that the feedback has been that the food trucks are saying, yeah, we can do that, it's not a problem. This was something that was a very community building type of event in Western all through the pandemic. This was an opportunity for people to come out and be able to see each other and maintain some social contact in a difficult time. And it became something that was very good and that people enjoyed very much. Obviously, we want them to be safe, but I don't want it to go away because it becomes too difficult. Hopefully, we'll find a way that, you know, it's easy for them to comply and make sure that they're showing that they're safe.
Any other questions for Justin? Thanks for including that, I appreciate that. I'll move on to my report. Want to start by saying thank you to the Mayor Pro Tem for running a good meeting while I was away, appreciate that very much. You set the record for public participation, notes taken, good job. You know, at least in the current couple of years. I want to just talk a little bit about the common sale investment group project a little bit. I believe it was indicated before, they have about a $9 million gap in their project, funding gap, and they don't have funds raised through either private equity or an intended loan. And they're asking for support from the state of Michigan. That ask is going to start formally through the RAP 2.0 revitalization and placemaking program. And those applications are due June 30th. There's a good chance that we may have something on our June 26th agenda, whether it might be a motion of support or whatever. Knowing that they're going in, so I want to give everyone a heads up on that. And I've got a bunch of catching up to do on various boards and committees, having been gone for a little while. Does anybody have any questions for me on anything? Joe, again, thanks for running the last meeting. Appreciate everybody helping them get through that. Why?
That's not a question, it's a comment, about the Memorial Day, ceremony. I attended that with council members Aldag and Schlauch and Councilmember Sunfero. Mayor Pro Tem Sunfero did a great job there. And I thought it was a really impressive ceremony. It was really, I don't want to say eye-opening, but it was fascinating, it was amazing to learn that we have this Captain Joe Evans in our midst here in Dexter, who has these incredible, honorable and accomplished naval career. And he gave a really amazing speech and just about his perspective on his service and also his perspective on moving to Dexter and how pleased he was, years ago when he moved here, to see what the Rotary Club does with that ceremony and the parade, and it was just a really great thing to be a part of.
Great, thanks for those comments. Thanks for attending. Seeing no other questions for me, are there any council member reports under item 7? Okay, we are down to the consent agenda. There were 6 items, there are now 5 items to approve. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Is there someone that would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move, we approve those 5 items on consent agenda, bills and payroll in the amount of $265,446.25. Student representative appointments, resolution to apply to MDOT TEDFSE grant program. Dexter Pride Festival road closure of Central Street on June 17th, and the Paint Dexter MLCC permit request.
Motion by Hubbard, second by Farrell. Thank you both. If you are ready, please call the vote to approve the 5 items on consent agenda.
Michelle,
Yes.
Alday,
Yes.
Schlaf,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Semi Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Keo.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We have no unfinished business this evening. So we're on page 4 of the agenda under new business. Thank you for waiting patiently in the audience. We have M1, which is discussion of the Mill Creek Flats conceptual plan unit development. Mike, would you like to, or Michelle, are you going to introduce this?
Yep, I'm going to introduce. Council, you let me know whether you would prefer for me to lay this out for you and provide you with the summary of the PC meeting, or have the applicant provide you with a quick presentation, and then I'm happy to follow up with the summary.
What is council's preferences? The applicant?
Yeah.
Mike, if you're comfortable and ready, please introduce yourself and your team.
So, good evening, my name is Mike Penn, I know several of you wear many different hats within the community, one of them is on the DDA committee. So enjoy my time there, they're not nearly as robust of meetings typically. So part of our team, I'll kind of get to our project in a second, but part of our team is Greg Cop from MAPD, Vice President of Development with MAPD. He's kind of part of our overall development consulting team. Kathy Kine from Mapcon Engineering, you'll be familiar with her from some of her work on Millennium Place, also on Grand Street. And we have Rob Burrows from OX Studios, who's been our lead architect, and he's obviously the principal of the firm as well, and been outstanding. So part of what Mill Creek Flats is, let me kind of quickly address where it is. Mill Creek Flats is on Grand Street between Grandview Commons and the Forest Lawn Cemetery. So it's actually kind of a nondescript 2.3 acre parcel roughly. It's kind of tucked away. And so I didn't really know much about it, to be honest with you, except for when I was out walking my dog and walking through the cemetery and so on and so forth. You kind of see this, it's very long and, it's a lot really deep parcel. And again, you probably wouldn't really pay attention to it too much if you aren't really kind of intimate with downtown. One of the things I'd like to highlight with our particular team. So I'm a partner in Grand Development Group. It's a partnership that was really formed to develop that. And so that particular parcel, the proposal that you're going to see in front of you is intended to be a local team, both the consultants and for myself and my partners. And also trying to develop a project that we think is feasible, but it's also a tight project, but it's specifically going to be addressing an attainable housing issue within Dexter. I'm a local realtor. I watch the market very, very closely. That's what I do professionally, and so I'm very intimately involved with what the migration of people in and out of the city, the lack of housing, affordable housing. That's often as an option. I should make mention of 2 things on this particular project. One is this is an apartment project. This is not a for sale condo project. These are very clearly apartments. As you all know, we have one major apartment complex in Walkabout Creek. And so part of our issue as a community is that we have a lack of supply and demand. In our view, we have a need from that perspective. I should also make note that in the presentation, I know, feel free to ask us questions as a team as you go. I know tonight's concept meeting is really just an opportunity for you to review the materials that we provided to you, and then give us feedback from that. I should note that along the border of the cemetery, we've had 3 different conversations with the cemetery so far. They've been very productive. We need to figure out exactly what the details of that are in terms of like, right, screening, buffering, that kind of stuff. But I should make mention that like, you know, I live on Broad Street, right? So my former neighbor, Mary Whipple, is buried there, right? My maid of honors, brother is buried there. So like when we look at the orientation of the buildings, how they can go along the pathway between Grandview Commons and our parcel, we've kind of oriented them away from the cemetery intentionally. It's an intention to give privacy, to be respectful neighbors, and to be good, and to also activate that trailhead and make sure that our community is a very active community. We don't have large spaces from the amenity perspective. We want people to get outside to enjoy the trail systems that we love downtown, be active and walking downtown, so on and so forth. So hopefully, as I'll turn it over to Rob here in a second, hopefully we'll see some of the slides that he's going to present. Is that not only it's something that we really try to pay attention to with what Dexter is. We want to try to keep you know the character and love Dexter deep down, and so we want to obviously provide a good project that's kind of reflective of the master plan and goals. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're kind of fulfilling a different, from a housing perspective, fulfilling a hole that's you know sorely needed. So with that, I'll turn it over to my team. I'll let Rob speak.
If you think about Barossa though, studio, I will not take much of your time. That's already been a long evening. Michelle, let me ask a favor of you. If you could just share our site plan, the layout plan, I think, and the civil would suffice. I just want to give you some broad 30,000 foot perspectives on the site layout in particular. An attempt on who's looking at.
I think Josh is gonna have to.
Okay, all right. I'll pause for a brief moment, which is almost a under comment. I do want to point out the staff has been remarkable with working with us to get us to this moment now. We've developed but through the conceptual, through our project status, we definitely feel that it exceeds the conceptual level in terms of development. So I think it's a positive. It gives a lot more opportunity for your folks this evening to get additional feedback than you might have if it's just a single site plan. You'll see an opportunity, we'll be able to look at some renderings as well, to kind of entice you a little bit in terms of what the architectural treatment will look like. One of the excellent points that was brought up in Michelle's summary, which you have in your package tonight as well, that was sent to you as commissioners. Can you summarize at the bottom of the first paragraph in the planning commission discussion? The commission complimented the applicant on the time and effort invested in the design and layout of the project, citing that it not only reflects the community and character, but indeed, we really thought there was a telltale sign that there was tremendous buy-in across the board at the planning commission level last week. There was a great deal of feedback that was provided. Mike touched on several key points. Now I can probably talk to some of those key points. I think we're on the right plan now. Yes, we are. You'll note that Grand is to kind of the upper right of the plan, if you're identifying it. Mill Creek is to the bottom left of the plan. To the west of to the left of the plan itself, where the site is the cemetery. So right is Grand Mountains. Some unique elements of this, obviously, Grand is a smaller scale street, is to define as Village Street. To the immediate right or east of our parcel is an easement that's been provided by the Grandview Commons. They'll provide a pedestrian access, non-motorized pathway that will go from Grand, connecting down to the end of the properties with a future connection to the boardwalk to the actual boardwalk along the creek. That was a very essential part of our developmental status of the project overall. So you'll notice at the top, there's we call the front building. That's technically running the full frontage condition of Grand itself. That's really what we're terming our urban edge condition. That takes us almost from lot line to lot line and frames the front portion of the property. Access to the site is actually carved out of that building in a very unique fashion. We created a portal first level, which is attains the minimum clearances for emergency vehicles, of course, 14-foot clear. So we're able to get all of our traffic in directly to the site and shield almost all that parking from direct visibility to the Grand site. On the right side, the eastern half of the property, we have what's is an L-shaped building. That is functionally a building that frames in a very similar fashion, that connecting easement, that pathway that's going to be ran down to Mill Creek. So we really take a lot of front doors that are only dedicated in the ordinance to grant and continue with those down internal to our own property that directly access this public walkway. And then we get down to the very end, you'll see that building does an L. That is another portal, sorry for architectural terminology. We literally carved out the first level there. That becomes almost our picture window into Mill Creek beyond. So internal to the site, coming through that area itself is where we're actually going to have direct views and outdoor seating plaza. Will moderately terrace down into the Mill Creek setting itself. Really defines some wonderful public amenity spaces internal to the site of the hall. I should note that these buildings are 3 stories in height. There is a 4th story that's being proposed as part of this. We're asking for an exception as part of the PUD process to add a series of upper level penthouses, rooftop amenities, if you will. They're very small in scale. They're accessing individual units. This is a unique development in the sense that these are all built upon a modular units. 4 units at the first floor, 4 units on the second, 4 units on the third, all centered around a common egress stair. There are no common corridors, which is a unique way of kind of defining this module that we use to structure our layout. It also eliminates a lot of the unnecessary square footage of a building of this type, and you don't have internal corridors. You just have these vertical stairs that connect those individual units. And those pods are structured all the way along. Each one of them has direct access at grade to outdoor patios. On the upper levels, they have balconies. There's always an element of outdoor space that's being provided. Talk a lot to the site plan real quick. Please share some of the renderings. We can fly through this quickly to kind of keep up our pace this evening. Tail of the presentation. Important. Thank you very much. Yes. A little bit, these are just the elevations. They're really simple to see a little bit more. And in fact, this is a great one to start with. This is a bird's eye looking across the site of Mill Creek. We can identify Mill Creek in the upper portion. Grand is at the bottom of this image. This is that front building that goes lot line. Easements in the pathway going down Mill Creek is on the left side. Cemetery is on the right or west side of the property. So the portal that was discussed is that cut out in the lower level. That's where all our vehicular access comes and goes. Again, in the streets, it provides a wonderful screening device to hide and buffer what's functioning the parking area between the buildings themselves. We'll be flying through if you want, please. This is a great example of like first floor living space. It's outdoor terraces directly off of the individual units. This is kind of a key moment, thank you, where you actually are getting kind of a technically the front doors to all the units are accessed from that common central zone that they're all working around. But on the first level, each one of these first level units has kind of a quasi front door. We have that nice interface of people walking by, basically an outdoor porch on all those units, which is really wonderful. Please. Slightly different view from Grand. Looking back towards Grand View, there's a view towards the portal. Again, you'll see that it's kind of a screening device. Some proposed amenities that we're introducing interior to the site, which includes a rain garden, some outdoor seating area, potentially some fire pits. There are amenities for the individual tenants. Interior to the site, starting to get some first glimpses of the portal on the backside, looking towards Mill Creek. And some of these might be slightly repetitive, my apologies. And this is the backside from Mill Creek, slightly elevated. You'll see that terrace zone coming down, a large boardwalk on the backside, and ultimately a long connection route that takes us right along to the pathway as well. There's a lot of interconnectivity from front doors, from center points to the site, everything else that gets you to a walk. It's again, as Mike pointed out, we have this really grand opportunity to engage each one of these tenants in terms of bringing them in and out of the city, as well as into the pathway system itself. There's a little bit closer down. And this is a nice dramatic view through that portal cut out on the backside, facing the Mill Creek itself, and a small little common space, amenity space. That I'm certainly here for any questions you may have. Thank you very much. I don't know if Michelle wanted to give you a presentation. I just want to have you come back afterwards. It's at your leisure, of course.
Anyone want to start? Appreciate the time and I'm sure the cost put into the graphics. These are very descriptive, and you get a very good sense of what this will look like, and I think this is absolutely a need in the community. I agree wholeheartedly with Mike in town. I like the project. There's a couple things I might tweak on the parking in the street, but it's nitpicky at this point. Just in terms of how it blends into the neighbors and alignment, but other than that. What is the height of the, you said it, I forgot to register, what's the height of driving under the first building?
We're allowed to, I mean, the guys, we're allowed, to be on the top of my head, I believe we're allowed 45 feet by ordinance. 3 stories and 45 feet. We're allowed.
The drive open, what's the
Full opening, 14, yeah, that's right.
14?
Yes, 14, yes, and that's been reviewed by the park.
Perfect.
Yeah, and,
Okay, thank you. Back.
Just a bit of architecture history here, the 4 unit per floor with the stairway, that's a very Soviet process. Where they would have a really tall 10-story buildings would be 4 off it, and they would figure out how many units to build this year, and then they would just plug that thing, and then they hit a road and just spend the building. Just a couple of little detailed questions here. I don't see any elevators in any of the sections, in any of the modules. Is the first,
no elevators.
do you plan for the first floor to be barrier free?
It's required, oh, yes. Not the entirety, there's a certain percentage of units that will have to be type A, which are fully accessible units, with only the fact that these are apartments.
Okay.
Those will be fully compliant with the Michigan Building Code and the accessible code as well.
And with so I see one of the benefits here is providing types of housing units that aren't available, including the efficiency in the single unit. Is that something the team's willing to commit to as part of the recognizable and substantial benefit?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I asked
That
that,
should be clear too, the efficiencies will be a 1 bedroom, will be smaller than the standard 1 bedrooms.
yeah,
So you'll see we actually graded it by scale, or square footage.
okay, and I do ask that because it's not uncommon for developers to propose this stuff and all of a sudden 2 1 bedrooms gets stuck together for 2 bedroom because they figure they can do.
No, you'll notice 2 bedrooms are the most diminutive number of total units.
Is there a reason why you don't have the little balcony up on top, not the balcony on top, but the upper story for the length of the building?
For the full length of the building?
Yeah,
We primarily, obviously, we're focusing on attainable housing. And penthouses somewhat go against the grain of that fundamentally. We use those in the 2 key locations. One of them is fronting Mill Creek and the other is fronting Grand. The intention that they all have some views towards the south, towards Mill Creek. The way the orientation sits on the longer of the L, the long leg of the L is basically looking at Grandview. Not quite the same dramatic views that you'll have in the other locations. That was one of the primary motivations.
okay, well, and I've often said that great cities have roof decks. And I believe we aspire to being a great city, so I personally wouldn't object to having more than, even if it's out on the parking lot, I think that's a great place for one. You get to hear the sound, get the eyes on the street, that kind of stuff. It has been mentioned here and that the connection to the cemetery is going to be very important. One of the things we did with the PUD across the street is required to have a solid masonry wall up to 3 feet or the height of the headlights. So that if you're walking your dog out there, you're not getting blasted with the light if you're visiting family members. So very key. One comment that I'd offer for the landscaping along Grand is what's dropped in there right now appears to be very suburban, kind of tree, bush, shrub. But this is right downtown and we have soldier courses of trees. So if you want to be Dexter consistent, I would recommend more urban row of trees. I agree that the street parking probably could be massaged, and I think we could probably take out that little bump there. That's on us. We can finally use the Don Darnell offsite parking fund for something. Do a couple of other thoughts. I will say it feels a little naked without a cornice. So I'm not going to use a fancy architect, I only have a bachelor's in it, but in this case, it does feel like it needs a little exclamation point, even if it's just, the bar that comes out to create the shadow. So mostly kind of the shadow line and make folks know that, yes, we did intend to finish the building here, otherwise it kind of feels like it could keep going. let's see. I noticed in a couple of comments here that there wasn't a historic structure on there, and looking at the size of the house that's on the easterly side, it seems to be a rather ancient, probably before 1880s building. So I'm gonna pose this thought out there. Webster Township has a pretty robust historical society. Dexter Township has one. If there be if there's interest, if there be an opportunity to donate that building to them. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach. Wow.
Can I just make a comment based off of one of Zach's questions and something that you mentioned at planning? The lack of elevator, I believe you mentioned, was another step that you were making to try to commit to attainable housing. Which I think is really admirable, and I appreciate all that you're doing to try to make that happen for our community.
Yep, so I was on the, I think, the development meeting or some initial meeting where I saw the presentation, spent a little bit of time. I don't know if I made the comment at the time. I think something about the design still strikes me, maybe somebody said it at the meeting, that was kind of like a parking garage. And it may have been commented that we weren't able to really read some of the materials all that well, the way they appear on the page. I think that's still kind of my initial impression, and you know, a lot of stuff in our master plan just talks about like maintaining the small town character. And you know, we've got, I don't know, what is the status of Millennium Place? Is that being built at some time? Like that's been approved and.
The job.
I'm sorry, I did not hear the question.
Millennium Place, where is that in their process?
I still didn't hear it.
Millennium Place.
Oh, I'm sorry. Millennium Place is still, the PUD agreement is still being looked at by their attorney. Scott Manzel, the city attorney, was going to reach out to him to find out, kind of poke him a little bit and see what is it that's hanging it up, or can we get moving forward on it?
Okay. So I mean, I just am thinking about this from the bigger, like a bigger picture of like, what is the potential future of our downtown, so beyond your project. We heard from a lot of residents who are concerned about the Pelham and 8180 Main, I guess. And so we've got Millennium Place that kind of is somewhere in the works, potentially this project, potentially 3045 Broad, 8180 Pelham. And I think it's maybe difficult to place all of these in context when we're looking at them each individually. I don't know to what extent city staff or some other talented person in our community would be able to mock up some sort of rendering of that, you know, downtown that would encompass these additional developments. I personally would be really curious to do a sort of public engagement, public listening session or something, because just given what we saw come out at the Pelham, I would be curious to hear from the community what their thoughts are on these proposed directions. And rather than wait till any individual public hearing for any individual project, I'd be inclined to share that vision, justify it based on things in our zoning ordinance, our master plan, talk about what elements the public can weigh in on, what elements are sort of non-negotiable. I'd asked Marie to pull some financial data to, you know, because it seems like one argument for additional density downtown and greater development is to help increase the tax base, and then there, you know, issues with Headley and when we're running up against our property tax limit and things like that, that I'm still working to understand, that I'm sure the public is still working to understand. So I think this is more now a question directed to council, aside from the fact that I would like.
I'm afraid to say it.
Yeah, I would like a different exterior, something that, you know, so we see this phrase, small town character, and I'm not convinced that these sort of, what read to me as large format buildings, not convinced that they are like consistent with the small town character. And, you know, I look at Grandview a little bit further, and I think it's just the nature of the roof line even, that means like it softens it, makes it look more residential as opposed to industrial or commercial. Anyways, I think just the seed I wanted to plant with the rest of the council, or spaghetti to throw on the wall, as Zach says, is whether or not we'd be interested in having a broader conversation, specifically inviting the public to talk about all of this potential development downtown, because it's coming, and I guess people have talked about it, and I'd be curious to hear them in one forum as opposed to isolated public hearing.
Thank you, Danny. Joe. I very much like the project. I like the proposal. We worked a short time ago on a housing task force, looked at, and one of the things that I think everybody struggles with is how to get more attainable housing. The only thing that I took from everything we looked at is it comes down to a lot of it is supply and demand. If you don't have the supply, and we have a long waiting list in Walkabout Creek, so I mean, that's gonna keep rents higher than they might otherwise be. And it even trickles down into the rest of the homes and apartments that are all through downtown. The other thing is that some people might say there's not a plan for downtown, but there's actually, I mean, the DDA has been doing planning on this since back before the industrial park went in. You know, the plan was do the industrial park, move the industry out of downtown. And there actually was layouts of downtown that show multifamily housing in all these locations in these different areas at 3045 Broad and on Grand Street. I think we talk about a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of talk about how do you get attainable housing and what do you need to do and how to utilize your space and, you know, how do you make use of the infrastructure that we have and not have it sprawl out. And this is the type of development that does that. So, I'm not very much on how it looks type of a person, so I really can't give you feedback on that. I do think that the downtown is having much more, and when I say downtown, I mean the old village. I think the old village is having a very varied style of homes, buildings, architecture. I mean, literally back to the 1800s and then through, you know, all the time that the single family homes were built and everything. So, I like it. I think, you know, however you or the feedback you get on how you want to make it look, that's fine, whatever you want to do with me, but I'm very happy about the number of houses that are here, the need in the community for that type of housing that's going to help to be addressed by that. So thank you for the proposal.
Yeah, I want to echo a lot of what Councilmember Semifero said, that you saw a need in our community and you brought a proposal that not only is addressing that need, but also addressing it with care and addressing it with a lot of attention to not only the building itself, but also the environment around it, the neighbors, whether it's the creek or other neighbors, or it's the cemetery. And I really would like to commend you for that attention and the care that you were providing to that. I really like the design. It looks very open. It allows for a lot of being outside, even though you're in an apartment sort of thing. There seem to be areas of care to the landscape, areas of people coming together. And I really like that. It's there. It's very nice. One thing that I would like to ask for a way down the road future of if this is moving forward and being built, to give the same care that you gave to this design to the management and care of the people that will be in those apartments. There is a part of building something, and there is a part that comes after, which is the support and the maintenance and the care of the rest moving forward, right? And whether it's you or it ends up somebody else, I would appreciate that you give that same care to the future of it when people live there. Thank you.
wanted to add that I like that the parking is hidden. I think it's a good way to not have to see a sea of parking from the street. And based on the orientation of the property, I don't think you're gonna see it from the walking path really easily either, maybe a little bit as you come down the side, past the building itself, since you've got some views in, but you're not really gonna see it from, you know, when you're behind the cemetery, so to speak. One of these images has like I guess my question, does it clear down as it goes to the south towards the path?
It does.
The rooftops go down?
No, the rooftops do not, all of the rooftops are at the same elevation.
Okay, I couldn't tell. Okay. Okay, because the property kind of slopes that way, I wonder if the potential fell.
It does, and that's why we have the portal on the south side, and that's where the terracing will happen. Just to start making up that delta in the building.
Okay, so the roof, the rooftop is
Yes.
level, okay, so looking at it from grand view, we're gonna see the common pitch line is really. Okay. I think it's great step forward. Bill?
One other question about the proposal is for attainable housing. So how do you manage that? I mean, this isn't necessarily an architectural thing, but I guess the question is, how do you maintain that? How do you manage it? How do you do going forward? You know, what's in place? Keeps that going.
In terms of, you may be crossing over my pay grade at this point.
Right, no, I understand. I guess.
I can address it from the design perspective.
Right, I understand. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's not a problem whatsoever. We are taking in all the questions, so.
Do you have, any of the stormwater from Grand Street going back through your property? Does any of the stormwater that comes off of Grand Street within the parking areas and those little nooks and stuff, does that go through your property at all?
We infiltrate all the cabins, do that, and we infiltrate them also there. So drainage does not flow into the property itself. No, it's segregated. By your curb. Okay. Everything that is captured on the property, the rooftops, all the previous services will be managed on the site, and basically infiltrating soils there. Penetration, wetlands will be preserved as well.
Because we don't, I don't think have stormwater infrastructure along Grand. And there could be a partnership there.
We have a little bit of drain and barrage that runs down to the trail.
Okay, done.
There's one catch basin out on the fire hydrant.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Well, you're gonna have overflow on your containment just in case, right? Where's that gonna go?
Didn't ask to happen. No.
So we actually, will be infiltrating the complete 100-year storm event on site. We have excellent infiltration rates on the property. We're capturing everything. We have very little, actually piping. Most of it is overland flow. We have 2 areas to infiltrate water. One is the rain garden, and then there's another basin in the rear of the site. That's laid out and designed to capture the 100-year flow event. If it were to overflow, it would overflow towards the well. But it's designed to store what would typically be stored for a 100-year storm.
So there would be a pipe to the wetland.
No. Okay.
Thank you.
What?
I just wanted to follow up the things that Councilmember Hallberg said. And then point one thing out quickly. I also like the design. I think that, you know, I understand some other thoughts about it looking not like the rest of the community necessarily, but I think for what it is a very nice design. And I think that the trade-off there is what you were also talking about. There's a community feel to this building, so it does mirror Dexter in that way. I mean, I love all of the outdoor areas. I mean, it's not just the fire pits. There's a lot of nice renderings of community areas and indoor common space. And with that in mind, I want to say, the last thing I want to say is that, yes, we have a lot of detail here and it's really wonderful. And I'm really appreciative for that, but I want to remind everybody that we are still at the conceptual stage. This is just a discussion that we're having in light of, you know, a lot of what's been going around in the community. You know, there's plenty of space for input still, and it just happens that you guys brought us a very fleshed out conceptual plan, and I appreciate it.
Zach?
Let's see, just a couple more questions popped up here. My recollection is that that walkway, we have an access easement over it from Grandview, is that correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Do we know that if the terms of that allows direct connection from this property? Is that something we need to look at?
It's a public access easement, Zach.
Okay, so there's nothing that would prevent. it.
There's nothing that restricts it.
Okay,
We just have to make sure it covers the whole western portion of that property.
this is within the DDA district boundary, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so for folks doing the pencil tax stuff out, this actually won't increase revenues to the city itself. All increase on the current value will go straight to DDA.
The city will still retain its base. You're, yes, Zach.
There's been a lot of talk about attainable. Do you know what rents you're looking to charge? Have you penciled that out yet? Well, I know, big, want to get a sense.
It's fair. Yeah. You know, I wanted to get to talk, so. I'm very confident in AD and we're partnering with Mike and this team. Our intent is to meet the strict that definition of attainable, right, which is 60 to 120% of AMI for the county. Part of that is controlling the cost and keeping the unit sizes small. So the intent is to keep a lot of the units small, as somebody else asked me about too, so. But not 100%, but the better than half of the units will be attained.
Are you planning on running for light tech funds?
No.
Okay. All right, I'm all good, thank you.
Okay. Oh, there's a hand online? Okay, we can take a question. I can't read the name from here. Josh, can you help me through the name?
He's listed as PF Hopton.
Okay, can you unmute them or ask them?
Hello, thank you. Yeah, this is a really interesting proposal. I do think that there's a need for some different kind of housing here in Dexter. I lived in Ann Arbor for about 15 years and just moved here a couple years ago. And I moved here because of the density that was going in around me and my family and my single family home in the neighborhood. The traffic, the noise. And so I have some concerns about these projects, and having lived in many rental units most of my life, I have a major concern about no elevators and accessibility in the proposal that we've seen. And again, understanding it's just a proposal, but thinking again, having a family with kids, older or people who may not be able to climb the stairs, even things from practicality of getting a mattress into a third floor. How are you going to do that up the stairs? And again, if these spaces are small, it's going to cap the people that you're trying to serve. And so again, those are other kinds of considerations. And again, the bigger the space, the more it's going to cost, as we know. So especially the rent prices, I'd be curious to see what the projections, are for those. Seems like there's a lot of things happening with the outdoor space, and again, encouraging that kind of community. But I think the elevators are a must, and even for accessibility, a must.
Thank you. Can we get your address for the records?
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. It's 8556 Park Ridge Drive.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think that concludes our, unless there's another hand, I think that concludes our conceptual review.
One more.
Okay, go ahead, Zach.
Do you have any questions for us? Or to the chair? Do the applicants have any questions for us?
Mike and I talk like every other week. Good. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the excellent work. Good luck to you as you proceed through the process.
Thank you.
New business item M2 is consideration of zoning ordinance text amendment article 1010, multifamily use or, excuse me, adaptive reuses. Joe?
Question. Suggested motion.
Suggested motions, okay.
It's three different, one way, it's a list when they're with conditions, so.
What me to the page your line second. Okay.
So I'll make a motion, that the suggested motion number one. To recommend approval of the ozone ordinance and text amendments as presented.
Okay. So motion by Senator Farrell. Suggested motion number one to approve.
One second.
Moved by Hubbard, was it? Second by Hubbard. Let's go. Okay, discussions. Jamie first.
I don't have the page pulled up in the zoning ordinance, but I think it would be helpful for purposes of discussion. To pull that up for everyone to see. I think it might be 11:40 or page 232 of the zoning ordinance. Whoever can pull that up, because I guess a clarifying question, or just to make sure I'm understanding, is that this really impacts, I don't even know if it's a handful of parcels. Want to make sure I'm understanding that.
Wow.
That is the way we discussed it, at planning commission, there was only really gonna affect a handful of parcels, but it's already allowed to have duplexes, so this would only be adding the ability to have more than 2 apartments in a single family home, which we already do have some of in the downtown area. But at least that's my understanding from the discussion at planning commission.
So which properties would those be?
Well, I mean,
It's
if I
mostly-
guess.
I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't hear Councilperson Griffin's question fully. So Jamie, could you ask that question again?
Yeah, I was just asking for the relevant map from our zoning ordinance to be pulled up on the screen. I think it's on page 232 of the zoning ordinance PDF or 11:40. Just for the VR2. Yeah, VR2, right? Because, so what we're saying is that we're allowing multiple family dwellings as a special land use in the VR2 district. So we want to look there. We want to look at the site type B parcels fronting village streets. So site type B parcels on this map have these teeny tiny dots and fronting village streets. And so, I mean, just the number that even have those teeny tiny dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count 5, and I don't even know that they all front village streets, but maybe they do. So I just wanted to confirm my understanding. And I guess make it clear to the public how many parcels this is impacting and which ones, because it is something that.
If I could, it's only for those parcels that could be adaptively reused. So think of parcels like St. Joe's Church, St. Andrew's Church, existing buildings that are called out for adaptive reuse in your master plan. The extra language that Planning Commission requested be added, that adaptive reuse is exclusive of single family and 2-family homes, protects existing single family and 2-family from being converted. It's only those parcels that I previously mentioned.
So then of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are type B, it's only 2 of those 5?
You'll have to forgive me. I do not have my zoning ordinance with me and I cannot see this map clearly. I don't know which parcels you're talking about, Jamie.
So we're just looking at.
The ones with the dots, you're saying.
Right, the type B
Yeah.
parcels have the teeny tiny dots, and there are 5 of those. But Furthermore, it doesn't apply to anyone that is single family. Right
Right,
now.
the
currently.
top one's St. Joe's Church, the big one at Dover and Edison. The
Mhm.
other is St. Andrew's Church. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not seeing a fifth one. Those are
Maybe
the,
jump over closer to the track, like near Huron. Huron and Broad. What is
oh, that is,
What road is that?
Yeah.
that isn't a, that's not Village Street. That is a downtown A street. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It is a village street. That would be where the
Yeah, it's right across the street.
Well, there.
That way.
Right, and it currently is multifamily.
there's a 2-family there, and then there's an industrial building that's owned by the railroad that is not anticipated to be anything but a railroad building. But it has the potential to be rehabbed or adaptively reused if MDOT ever sold it, I guess.
Right, so when this stuff comes through, it sounds like it's in a different language, and so, but when you really dissect this and narrow it down, given the size of our community and the size of this district, you can clearly identify, okay, this applies to 3 parcels. Now, so 3 parcels. Sorry if I make that clear to anybody else here, I wanted to make it clear to myself to make sure I was understanding it correctly, and to any members of the public who are thinking, what's happening all over my district? Like, this is how you can interpret that.
What does the S that underline on page 254 in the table stand for, S and P?
The S stands for special use. In other words, it's special land use approval as opposed to P being permitted.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Stuff that's underlined in blue down on pages 256 is not intended to change, or is it?
I'm sorry, on which page, Sean?
Page 256.
No, 256, blue is the link. Those are active link.
Underline that.
Just want to clarify that the motion is for the draft text as it appears on page 254.
That's my understanding. We're changing the table that's shown above the suggested motion. Is that all? That's what I was asking about those other underlines, make sure.
Yeah.
Change. So it's really, we're adding S underline, which you can say, assume say P and in the VR2, it's shown in red there, right? Everybody else is?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Jane.
I just had one follow-up question, Michelle. So when I kind of asked this about the other amendment we made recently, has the city been contacted about any of these parcels for this purpose in any way, like recently?
I'm sorry, the question you asked,
Has the city been contacted? Have there been expressions of interest in repurposing these sites for this purpose recently?
the reason they're listed as adaptive reuse on our zoning map is because over the years, the city has been contacted. Probably a month, maybe 2 months ago, tops. I was contacted by an appraiser. I was also contacted by, I think it wasn't an attorney, it was a realtor, asking questions on behalf of the church. But they're the same questions that have been asked previous.
Okay, thank you.
But it did show that the ordinance hadn't addressed it as we had expected when we came out of the master plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Okay, we have a motion to approve. Let's go to section 2303, under paragraph 1 there.
Motion by Sunford, second by Hubbard. Clerk, please call
Hubbard, Schultz,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Alday,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Sunny Zia,
the vote. Yes.
Ian.
Yes. Motion carries. We're down to non-arranged participation.
I think that's.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, please do. If I, sorry, jump back to, summer camp, there's road closing for Second Street on Fridays from June to September. Zach, you asked if we move down,
Yep, I'll move
then move it,
approving and then I'll bring up my comments.
okay, so moved by Michelle, second by Alden. Thank you. Okay, Zach,
All right, so a couple questions for staff. I haven't been able to read through the supplement because I got here too late, I guess. Have we figured out the logistics for closing this thing?
So I talked to Kurt and he's supposed to be talking to the crew. There's kind of two options. One is the DPW comes in on Fridays, so they would potentially close the road before that's what the last thing they do on Friday. Then they'd have to come in and reopen it either Friday night or Saturday morning. Depending on what Kurt comes back with, another option might be to train folks from the summer concentration, from the chamber, and provide them with the supplies they need to be able to be safe while reopening the roads.
Okay, so is this gonna be the standard barricade that goes there?
Type 3.
Is that gonna be sitting out there like in Ann Arbor during football on Ann Arbor Saline Road the entire week, or is that something we have to schlep back and forth?
Yeah, we would take it in now.
So, but if this like, I mean, it's gonna be there from Friday,
Friday afternoon to,
Monday.
well, depending if they come in on Saturday or they Friday to get rid of the rest. The latest it would be there would be Monday.
Yeah, I'm not really thrilled about this being in our park downtown every single weekend. For the whole summer. Did they say why they wanted it at 4? That seems really early compared to when they actually start the concerts.
A lot of times that they have the bands come in early to start setting up and then, setting up the speakers and everything that they use.
Where's the 1,500 gonna be coming from? Do we know that? We got that budgeted?
So, I mean, we have not charged other organizations, for road closures. But that might be a topic of conversation. I know that, in speaking with Becky Gobler, she said, tell us what the cost is. And they didn't promise that they would pay for it, but they said that they would be willing to consider it.
Okay. I'm run out of questions, but my thoughts are, I do like closing roads. I think it makes it safer. I'm concerned about the impact of having this thing out there for that long, for the entire summer. And 4 is really early. That's gonna push a lot of cars in the neighborhood streets. That's all.
when you say thing, you're concerned about
The barricades.
barricades themselves, okay.
They're not small, be sitting out there.
Yeah.
The one central bike, that's not a big deal, but having it right next to the monument for Civil War veterans. It doesn't, I don't know.
I understand. Yeah.
I feel more comfortable if our staff did it than trying to train somebody, because at the end of the day, we're gonna be liable for whatever happens.
And there's other things that stick out besides type 3s. Type 3s, the reason you do is because obviously they're bigger and they're more noticeable than what type 2. I mean, obviously, if it's a type 2, you could just take more of them and put it down, but they're small. So they've always done it with the type 3s, because obviously when people they see something huge, they're gonna stop.
Yeah, and my whole concern is the burden that it puts on the DPW staff.
I totally agree. I'd also like to see it down Saturday.
I agree.
Other comments?
My opinion is the cost of bid come, or we have to decide that we're start charging for everybody. This is a different conversation for a different night, I think. I don't think we should do that on this one, but. I mean, if we're gonna start that, we have to decide to start, otherwise. Or. Providing
Not to interrupt, but when I was in Milford, what we would do, because they have so much of the downtown area and so many things. They came up with a number. You know, whether it's $1,000, $500, whatever, and whoever's putting that on, once they get that certain amount of money, then they start paying the difference after that. Right, that when they're paid, like, for instance, if this goes on for, I don't know, what is it, 10 weeks or something, or whatever it is. That's 10 weeks of them going out and doing that versus someone that comes there one time. So that was the way they would handle it there. Just the thought.
The other alternative is if Kirk comes back and says, you know, they prefer not to be here every weekend, managing barricades. I mean, we could hire someone who has experience and, you know, knows how to be safe while working with things. And also has liability insurance.
Yeah. Can I ask that if you, I just missed some of what you were saying. So are you proposing any specific changes?
I just try to make a simple motion for discussion. I would probably be more comfortable doing it for a month so that staff can sort out these different questions. And then we could reevaluate it and continue it for the rest of the year. Gives them some guidance for at least the first couple of weeks and if we staff time to do it, so. Suppose if we want to do informal Robert's Rules of Order, I would amend the motion to be from June 9th through whatever the first Friday is in July. With the understanding that it allows staff to collect answers for July 7th.
Well, what questions do we have out there? Don't worry about it.
So I mean, the big one is the management of the barricades.
Yeah, but whose call is that? If we say to Kirk or to Jim, you gotta put the barricade down on Friday, you gotta pull them in on Saturday, that's what they do, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what I'm liable for.
I mean, yeah, we can do it that way. It's not my preference to look at the DPW and say you have to be here every Friday night at 10 PM or Saturday at 8 for the entire summer. I mean, if we have to, we have to, but
I like the idea of if the cost goes above a certain, that's when it kicks in, right? 1,000 seems like a reasonable. What's the typical cost for us to close the barricade for a single event, like the extra days?
so if it's calling somebody in on overtime, it's automatic, 2 hours of overtime. And for the most expensive employee to be $130 to $140 per occurrence. And so if you have them coming in on overtime to do it, and then coming in on overtime to pull it back. Potentially. Now, if they're doing it as like the last thing that they do when they leave, you know, if they can get done before 3:30, then you don't incur overtime for that, and it's just 130 to 140. But that's also for the most expensive employee. The least expensive employee would be, I think, $60-ish per occurrence. But you do that twice over, you know, 13, 14 weeks, and it adds up.
Well, in my mind, I'm trying to formulate equitable for the other groups that we come in on Friday and take it off, you know, at the end of the week. I think that's very reasonable. We know that there are costs associated with it. In the past, we've agreed that we're willing to eat that because it's a benefit for the community. But I think there is a tipping point where we're putting a lot more resources to it.
Dan, did you have a hand up? But is this a question of they don't want to do it, or this is, I mean, if we charge them, you know, $25 a week. All of a sudden, they're okay doing it?
I missed another.
Church too.
Like, let's say we have a total chamber, you gotta pay for $25 a week, or some portion of it.
Yeah, I mean, but that Becky said, you know, tell us the cost. And they would, there's a chance they would want to contribute to it. They didn't make a promise that they would, but they just want to know if there is a cost, what is that? And since we haven't charged other organizations.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand if this is a question of the employees don't want to do this, or you're concerned about the budget and goal.
No, I'm concerned about the burden that puts on employees and their free time.
Wow.
So can we approve this for, you know, like Zach proposed, to have you look into that idea of contracting someone to do it, and see what that would cost? So that the next time you consider this, we can use that in our decision-making process.
I'll second the motion to amend the motion to end the line item.
We have a motion to amend the motion, so that we're limiting this instead of June 9th or. Yes. So instead of September 1st, we're doing it to September 1st, July 7th, what was the date? Maybe sure I got the date right, so what's the date, 7th?
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, Tuesday, okay. I'm just gonna say, I think we should be approving the whole thing, I think give them this message. We could certainly work this cost thing out. I don't like the partial approval, but I'm gonna go down on that part of it. So. But I don't really know that. Any further discussion on the, no?
So just a quick note on that, that I think. I do understand the burden on staff and it's their time to come in. But there is also the part that I don't know if that is, you know, if it is overtime, it means somebody is getting overtime. Somebody might like overtime for the 2 hours, Saturday morning or like Friday night, we know. It will be good to know that, and I think it's something that maybe we can go through the first summer. This is the first summer they're asking for road closure every, right? Then maybe go through the first summer and see what is the impact and the burden, and what do the staff actually feel in that sense, and to me, that gives us better data, and also it's a overall summer activities that we are basically saying, yes, we want these community activities to happen for everyone. So, and if it gives us a good thing that if we decide to reevaluate this, that at least we have gone through the summer activities where the most of the activities, and that maybe we revisit this in the fall and implement something. So I think I'm more inclined to say, at least for the summer, we let it go through.
I think that's a good point about collecting the data, you know, having more than just one weekend, and also, I understand the not wanting to have the barricades there all weekend, every weekend. I mean, I would prefer not to do that as well, but the reality is, this is a growing event for our community. I mean, I can't tell you how much the talent has improved since I moved here. And I mean, some of the names on this summer's list are people that draw a big crowd that I've seen many times. And so I think it really makes sense to do this. And I mean, it's a positive for the community. And I think it's a small trade-off, as much as I agree, I don't want to see the barricades there every weekend, but it's worth it. In my opinion.
Okay, seeing no further hands, we have a motion to amend the original motion. Yeah, the approval will be from June 9th to July 7th. Please call the vote.
Griffin? Yes. Alday,
No.
Hubbard,
No.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Semi Pharaoh.
No.
Schlaf,
No.
yeah.
No. Okay, so the amendment fails, and we're back to the original motion to approve, what was in the packet. Any further discussion? Please call the vote. Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think another, comment, another thing that can happen, yes, we don't want the barricades to stay out all weekend, but if there are staff who would like to do overtime to move it, they'll move, if there are a couple times during this period that, barricades might stay, you know, a little bit longer in some sense, maybe that's something that can be worked out as well. What are the options?
If the DPW doesn't have the manpower or want the overtime, don't we have other employees which might be able to remove those barricades?
Yeah, I mean, we potentially wouldn't then rely on each other staff.
I hate to do that because that would be a Department of Public Works job. Okay.
So approving this permit for this length of time doesn't dictate what happens with barricades.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm supportive of this event. Maybe there are some logistics of, that need to be worked out. I guess I would just ask if staff needs additional direction from council at any time that they bring this issue back. Let us know.
I guess this last thing I'll say about this, I mean, I would have thought, correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of this wouldn't have been dictated if we had just approved this on the consent agenda. You would have brought concerns back to us, right? I mean, there are some things that I think were good discussion tonight, but I do trust you guys in things that you put on the consent agenda in your administrative capacity, under, you know, what you have authority to do. And yeah, so I just want to make sure that it's clear that it's not just the barricades that you might reconsider and bring back as it's not working.
What's that? David?
Yeah, I guess I'm speaking general process issues. I guess I do have a question. Road closures have to come to council. Why? Like I know certain dollar amounts have to come to council, and then sometimes they just kind of need a rubber stamp via the consent agenda. I guess I'm curious why road closures.
But I mean, in terms of policy, it's been historical practice. I mean, if council doesn't want to see them, I don't know if there is a policy dictating that it must be approved by council.
So we've always done it this way.
I'm just curious, I mean, if it's presented to us because you're looking, you want us to be aware of it, you want the community to be aware of it, you know, it's giving greater visibility than just a park use permit. So I mean, there could be multiple reasons to do it, to make sure council's aware of it, to make sure the general public's aware of it. But then I guess I think I've seen that some communities put all of their business under the consent agenda. And then people just have to, during approval of the agenda, they pull the items off that they want to discuss. So I guess there are multiple ways of doing things. Nothing can be on the consent agenda, everything could be on the consent agenda. I'm fine seeing them. I think it probably just increases the visibility of a road closure, which is probably of greater public interest than just like a park use permit on its own, which I think does have administrative people. Thanks.
Yep. No problem. Okay, Clerk, at this call, motion to approve?
Alday,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Michelle's,
No.
Schlaf,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Semi Pharaoh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you. We're down to non-arranged participation. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak this evening? If so. Now is the time. We know in the audience, anybody online, is there any hands raised? Yeah. Put it on range?
I have no hands.
So. No, we are down to council comment, so let's start with 2 student representatives this evening, Adam, if you lead us off.
Yeah, the Dexter Pride Festival is this Saturday at 7 p.m. It's a great way to come support people in the community. We're showcasing student artists this year, student musicians, we're having vendors, so it's gonna be a little different than last year. And it's just a great way to come support the community, whether you're in the LGBT community or not. It's just a great resource for us to have. So I totally recommend coming and support it.
Thank you, Bonnie.
I just wanted to mention that I looked at the student representatives you appointed, and I know a few of them, their good decisions, so I'm excited to serve the council.
Well, we're gonna have three. Because there's
Yeah.
someone else, we have three on council next time. Try not to turn anybody away in this program. I don't know what our capacity actually is, but I guess we'll cut that when we get to that. Or to try to give everybody, either their first or second choice. There was one person on the for comment with that, but. Look forward to another good year. Go.
I should have mentioned during the subcommittee reports, I wanted to just make a comment about the Public Safety Facilities Committee. For those of you that have not been there, the discussion has been very general. It's just been about facilities, about the what potential uses there are, how they might be configured. The part that was just included tonight outlined some of the drawings. As you can see, they're hand drawn, right? So they're initial drawings for discussion, and there's been a lot of talk about what things to kind of plan for, try to protect for potentially. A lot of discussions. It's almost been, a bit of a brainstorming about what type of things might be included in there. There's also been a lot of talk about things like parking, the requirements of the sheriff's department to have somewhat, office space that isn't directly a window into the street, or their concerns about vehicles and preventing the vehicles. Tim's brought up stuff about water and sewer, about the right of ways and those type of things. I mean, you can talk about things like radiant heating in the floor and why that's important, and why it's considered something in standard part of designs. We've had 3 meetings so far. As you know, at the last council meeting, we approved the RFP for the contract manager. That's gone out, from what I understand. As the city manager mentioned, we did have people that came in and looked through everything. This schedule is very tight in the next couple of weeks, so the expectation is that the responses are back by June 20th. So prior to that, David Gaston would be talking to those potential contractors about any questions that they have. On the 21st, the day after the quotes are back, we have the next meeting. That's Wednesday. And then on the 26th, the plan is to have proposals or recommendations from the subcommittee back to council for review and approval on the next council meeting. So it's moving along pretty quickly. There's been a lot of good discussion. There's been a lot of input from a lot of different areas. So if there's any specific questions about those, please let me know. I'll be happy to discuss any of it, or if there's particular current concerns, just give me a call, please.
Yeah, 2 things. Quickly, I want to congratulate our graduates of the class of 2023. I did attend graduation on Friday last week. It was a great ceremony with some very impressive student speakers and a really good turnout from the community. The other thing I want to say is I want to echo some of what Adam was saying. First of all, I just want to make sure that everyone at this table knows, if you didn't know already, that this is the 3rd annual Pride, and the 1st annual Pride was organized by Adam as an 8th grader. And I just want to recognize that incredible contribution to our community. It's something that I don't know why anyone else has stepped up to do it, but I'm really proud of you that you saw that hole in the community and brought that here for us. It means a lot to me personally. And I also want to say that, as he said, Yeah, it is a celebration for our community, but we welcome allies, we welcome, and I hope this sits with you, but we welcome people who want to respectfully learn more about our experience and why we need a Pride Month and why we need Pride celebrations still. And, you know, I mean, what people still go through today. So there are always really powerful student speakers, and I really hope that as many of you that can will join us.
Also, Zach?
Let's see, I would hope that staff would be able to do some light exit interviews with the student reps who are leaving and not joining, so we can get ideas on how to make the process better for them. Same for returning folks. We want to make the process better every year, I hope. Let's see, I do want to explain why I voted no on the villages. And I'm following the Julie Knight tradition. We had previously increased the general millage by 0.25 to pay into equipment replacement fund. The need for that has gone, and philosophically, I believe we ought to bring it back down, because the reason why we brought it up was no longer there. Same thing for the streets. We had increased that previously, anticipating large expenditure in Carriage Hills. That expenditure is gone and it remained the same. I don't like boiling frogs slowly. So I think if we bring it up for a specific project, we ought to bring it down unless we have specific projects that like to grow and fill. For the water and sewer, there were those couple of questions that I'd asked that aren't included in there that I prefer to be included in there. That's it.
Thank you. Jamie?
Yeah, I just want to restate my interest in a broader public engagement event for listening session about all the proposed developments downtown. Recognizing that though they may have been planned for and anticipated in various planning documents, I don't think it ever hurts to bring things like that to the forefront of the public's mind and engage them. Thank you.
Thank you, so. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. We have not listed anything as a proposed agenda item for the future meetings this time, so we have on the agenda a planned closed session for the purpose of discussing labor negotiation. I guess someone would make that motion. That's maybe you can help provide who wants to go in.
Yeah.
Okay, we are back in open session. Coming out of the closed session.
I move to approve the tentative agreement with Teamsters Local 214 based on the proposed changes to the contract as listed in the documents we received, retroactive to the date May 19th, 2023.
Motion by Alden, second by Senator Farrell. Any discussion? Okay, please call the vote.
Alden?
Yes.
Sunny Pharaoh?
Yes.
Brittany?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes. Motion carries. 6-0. And I'll take the motion to
So
moved by Watt at 10:12.
second.
Second by Jim, thank you. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Have a good evening, everybody.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.